some more. Heartbeats racing, time to fight. Show them all our endless might. Fight to the top. Don't ever stop. Fight to the top. Give it all you got. Pain and glory on the floor. Warriors, we want some more. Heartbeats racing, time to fight. Show them all our endless might. Fight to the top. Don't ever stop. Fight to the top. Give it all you got.
Wow, here we are again, guys. So what do you call?
Long time no see.
Here we are. This is crazy, man. We're just ripping through. We got episode 31 here of your favorite Muay Thai podcast.
You like our jingle, Sean?
I love it. I was like dancing into it, man.
Brandon created all of it. Our jingle, our intro song. Like, this guy's like
That's
a
impressive,
man of many talents.
That's very impressive because I definitely don't have that type of talent to put together the jingles and everything. You know, the rhyming and everything.
It's pretty cool, man. I think it's pretty cool. So we have Sean Fagan, Muay Thai Guy, fighter extraordinaire.
For the record, Sean, how do you say your last name properly? Because I saw we got it spelled wrong.
It's Fagan.
It's Fagan.
All right.
Did I spell it wrong?
Don't worry about that.
I'll take credit for that. I thought I was F. Oh, it's right. Yeah, it's F-A-G.
It's also we're doing a tutorial, so don't look at that either, guys.
I saw that.
Tutorial.
I don't want to say nothing. I don't want to say nothing.
That's what you do. You got to call it out because otherwise,
you get hit in the head enough, it starts to, it just starts to bleed into. There's some people in this business that can't spell their own name, so I'm ahead of those guys. I'm good.
You guys.
I'm very excited to have you, Sean. We've talked about having you a couple times, and you're a busy guy. It's kind of hard to nail down. Travel a lot. You do a lot within the sport, and there's a lot to learn from your lifestyle and how you've kind of come about and made a living through Muay Thai, and that there's a common thread of people that they're like, man, you just can't make a living in this sport, and it's impossible, and you have to have 3 jobs and blah blah blah. And reality is it sounds like you're doing pretty good, and everything you do, no matter what it is, if you want to make money, it's going to be work. It's going to be work, especially in the initial phase. And we want to kind of learn about your story and tell us about, your history, how you got into Muay Thai, and, how did you transition your fight career into, how did you monetize your fight career after your career? Because, a lot of people just open a gym, right? And so you're traveling all over the place all the time, which is what it seems like. I would assume that you are, because you're always somewhere different. And we want to know, I think a lot of people want to understand how is it that you got to the place you got. And you're an OG,
Thanks.
When it comes to the internet. And I remember seeing your posts when it first came out. Muay Thai Guy, had like 100,000 followers on Facebook. I remember it was Facebook. And then before Instagram, and then you started blowing up, and then I think your account got hacked or shut down, or I don't know if I remember, but it was like, and then you rebuilt it again. It was crazy story. Tell us about your story, man. Start from the beginning. How did you get started in the sport?
Well, that's a loaded question, right? So essentially, long story short is growing up, I always played team sports, but I was always one of the smaller guys. So I was always overlooked, even though I was like a good athlete, played baseball, played hockey. I always felt overlooked by my coaches, and I always felt kind of like smaller than my peers. And after high school, I went to college. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I was personal training a little bit. I was playing baseball in college, and the goal was to become a professional baseball player, right? My ignorance was bliss back then. I didn't know how good you actually had to be to play baseball, but I was playing baseball in college. It was a 2-year school, and I initially did really well my first year, and so I got offers to play at a couple of 4-year schools, and then I ended up failing out of college because I'm just not a classroom guy. I just can't like sit still, and I don't like being told what to do and what to learn, and so it was really just grinding my gears, if you will, and I had to figure out a different way to now live, because my goal was to go to college, play baseball, but now I wasn't playing baseball. I wasn't playing sports. I was kind of in this in-between stage. So at the same time, I was also playing hockey, and one of my hockey games, I would always be in the scrums, as a smaller guy, I was very feisty, and I always enjoyed like getting in the scrums and fighting people. And typically I would end up in the penalty box for quite a bit. And one game I was in the penalty box for probably half the game. And my mom after the game was like, I don't even know why you play hockey. You should just like join a boxing gym or something. And that was like a light bulb moment. I was like, oh, that's a good idea.
Your mom told you should start
as a joke, because she definitely said as a joke.
That's wild, man. Look at what a crazy thing. Like this little like seed. If she would have never said that, right? Like what your life would have been.
I know. And so boxing was my initial sport that I started. And then that kind of gradually evolved to MMA, UFC. This was back when like George St. Pierre was coming up, and like Matt Hughes was at the top and everything. So like I was like in it back then. And I was like, oh, that'd be so cool to be a cage fighter. Because I was always scared to fight, to be honest, because I was always small. So I was bullied in high school and everything. And so there was always this edge to me that I felt like I had a chip on my shoulder. I had to prove people wrong. And fighting was a way for me to kind of just like figure out if I was a bitch or not, pretty much. And so I was like, you know what, let's try this out. Let's see how it goes. And then with MMA, I did jiu-jitsu and everything for a little while, but I just didn't take to it. It just wasn't like something I was like enjoying to show up to. But Muay Thai, I really enjoy showing up to. And so I was training for about a year. I tried to get a couple of fights, but they fell through for one reason or another. You know how it goes. And at that time, there was a accumulation of things that happened all at once to kind of help me in this trajectory. So I was working full time. I was with my girlfriend. I was in an apartment with some friends and everything. And all at once, I got fired from my job. My girlfriend broke up with me. My lease was ending. And I also play online poker. And at that moment, I actually won an online poker tournament for like 15 grand, which was like,
oh, nice.
What the fuck, you know? Yeah. And I was like, holy shit, like, this is crazy. And like all these things happened. And then at the same time, I was also reading a book called The Fighter's Heart, which actually I had probably back here.
I love that book, by the way.
And it really just inspired me, you know, because he traveled to Thailand and did Muay Thai. He went to Brazil, did jiu-jitsu, wrestled in the U.S. I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I want to do that. And so I had no responsibilities at the time. You know, I think I was 20 or 21. And I had this dream of like, I hadn't really traveled outside the country. I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to go to Thailand, train, get a couple fights, and see what I can build from it. At the same time, I was also reading The 4-Hour Work Week from Tim Ferriss. So that kind of gave me an idea.
As a full-timer, what did you do?
I was serving tables at the time. I was a personal trainer. I was an ice skating instructor. I was a baseball instructor. I was doing like all these jobs just to like.
Man of many trades.
Yeah. And so once I went to Thailand, I had the idea of the 4-Hour Work Week of starting essentially an online business. So I initially claimed the Muay Thai Guy like name because no one had it. I was like, oh shit, this is crazy. This was back in like 2010.
Yeah, it was the early Facebook when it was just like kind of blowing up, and there was a handful of people that were starting to go viral. You were one of them, and I was watching it. It was like,
watching my old clips, man, it just like makes me so cringe, dude. You know how it is.
But that's your history. That's everybody, right? Like watch your first fight and see like, shit, that doesn't look great, right? Like, but you know, it's your history. That's how you got there. And I think it's important to let people see that because they're only seeing what it is now, the polished product, right? Or maybe not polished, but more polished than before. And sometimes it feels unattainable, but you know, you look at it and you go, well, look at this guy when he started. Like he wasn't.
I was at it for a while, man. You know, And like,
but you were at it hard in the beginning. I remember.
And I had no idea what the fuck I was doing with like online business or monetizing. I was just trying to figure it out. And it took me a while to kind of like figure out how to actually make a living from it. And once I was able to kind of tap into that and figure out like, oh, like I can really make a living from this, I just kind of doubled down. After that Thailand trip, I actually moved back to the States, right? After I spent like 4 months there, I had 3 fights. And I went 2-1, and it was actually the one loss which really got me like excited because it really put me into deep waters. And
losses always define people. I've learned.
Yeah, because like winning was easy, you know. It's like like
anybody can do that, but I always watch my athletes when they lose, and I kind of like study their reaction, just pay attention to what they're doing, and I'm like, sometimes they lose and they're gone forever, and sometimes they lose and they're like, oh hell no! Like I
feel like I was just scratching the surface. Like it was like, wow, like I was pushed so much further physically and mentally than I ever was before. I was like, wow, if that was just this one fight, what if I fought again? I felt like I was shedding a layer of myself every time I fought, and it became like this addiction, you know. And I was like, you know, let's see how far. Like I felt like okay at it. I was like, all right, let me see how far I can take this. So flew back to the States, started fighting local promotions in New York, my Fight Night fights and Take On and everything at the time.
I remember
trying to build up my my amateur career while at the same time trying to figure out how to monetize my online career. And I was fortunate enough. My now wife, she was with me throughout this entire time, and she was like paying the bills. She was doing all the things while I was just trying to figure out how to make this work. And fortunately, fast forward to now, we live comfortably and we're able to travel the world. One of the benefits of what I do too, which I'm super grateful for, is the freedom of being able to kind of like do what I want with my time, do what I want with my energy, spend as much time with my family now. And it's been a wild ride, but I feel like in a good place right now, and I'm excited to see where it continues to go.
What does that look like? What does your day-to-day look like as far as like working an online business, you know, working, I guess I would define it remotely. What would be your like, what's your like day-to-day? Like, what does that look like for you?
Nowadays, it's kind of scattered a little bit. I have a 2-year-old and we're expecting another one. So right now,
congratulations.
Thank you. And right now, a lot of my time is kind of just being a dad, you know, and trying to find pockets of time to do work. But fortunately, a lot of the work that I do is automated, and I have an assistant and I have some team doing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff.
Very cool.
I probably work like 10 to 15 hours a week, and then the rest of it is I train, I work out, spend time with my family. Sometimes, depending, like right now it's like Black Friday and everything coming up, so I'm working a little bit more than normal.
Yeah.
But I try not to get too obsessed about it, because as much as I love doing it and I love making more money and doing Muay Thai, I want to have a good balance between my life and everything. And I find that sometimes I can just get like too obsessive about one thing, and then it affects my family, affects my relationships, it affects my health.
We just had a podcast with an athlete not 2 days ago about how she was like to be the best that like you have to be so obsessive that you have to almost shut out your entire family. She's like, you know, significant others don't even last. And it's like, you know, it's hard to not fall into that, because you do have a family now. You do have, you know, two kids coming at you, and they rely on you heavily emotionally and stuff. And you kind of have to find a balance. And it sounds like you found a pretty good balance working, you know. Some people, they do the 10 hours in one day. Like you're doing that 10 to 15 hours a week. That's a blessed life. How often do you travel? How often do you travel? And then like, are a lot of your trips having to do with your online business?
So we try to travel often. We love traveling. Me and my wife have always been people who like to go different parts of the world and just meet different people, see different ways of life and everything. So every year we're somewhere new. We go to Costa Rica at the beginning of every year to host a Muay Thai retreat. So that is like work related.
That's part of the business. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's fun. It's like an adult summer camp, you know, everyone goes to winter camp, right? But everyone just trains Muay Thai. has good food, good drinks, and
Costa Rica in the winter is a good move. Trying to get out of the snow, the cold.
Exactly. And like we're not winter people. We live in upstate New York. So every winter we try to escape, whether it's Thailand or Spain or Greece,
Snowbirds.
or wherever.
We have a term for that in Arizona. We call them snowbirds.
Yeah, that's
they come out to Arizona because it's like warm out here for the winter. So the snowbirds are coming.
Yeah,
south.
I mean, I am one of them. And our main goal right now is to live in Thailand for like 4 months out of the year. We want to build to that. Right now, we're still like piecing things together because of just the growing family, and trying to like make everything work. We have a dog and everything. So going to Thailand for 4 months is a little difficult to tie in, but that is like kind of the end goal. We want to be there for 4 months, be in New York for the rest of the year. But other than that, I travel for seminars too. And typically whenever I travel, it has some, maybe I'll take a private lesson somewhere close by.
Sure.
I'll tie in Muay Thai, so this way I can write it all off for taxes, And so if I just take a couple photos for social media, then like
business lesson 101 for everybody listening. You can hack life by doing business is what you love, and there's a lot of overlap. So Sean, real quick, in Thailand, where is it that draws you? Is it Phuket? Is it Koh Samui? Like, where's your heart?
Yeah, it's Koh Phangan, honestly, because it's known for the full moon party, and it can get crazy, but I can't stand the full moon party. It's too much for me. But the other part of the island that's not known for the full moon party is so just like, it's kind of this like hippie land, but really good training, really good food. Everything's within like 15 to 20 minutes. Koh Samui, I love too. It's a little bit bigger though, and I was fortunate enough to spend COVID in Koh Samui, so no one was there. So we got all the beaches, all the good discounts, all the good deals and everything.
Paradise.
But when it's a little bit more busy, it's a little overwhelming for me. And we like Koh Phangan. Good training, good people, good food. It's just so far away because like we have to fly to Thailand first, then we have to fly to Koh Samui, then I have to take a boat from Koh Samui.
Right.
And so that's why if we go, we want to spend like 3 or 4 months there because if we're going, like, we're gonna fucking go, It's
a double-edged sword, though, right? All the travel steps to get very far away from everyone else.
Yeah. I wish Thailand was closer, man. But that would also be like too many people would be
Agreed.
going.
Elon, if you're listening, everybody I know is wanting teleportation next.
This is the next step.
So you travel a lot. You've made a life for yourself, and the topic of discussion today was basically questioning the validity of your business, which is online tutorials, right? And when I asked online, I polled online, it was a dead in the middle 50-50. And people were like passionate about it. And I was like, this is a controversial topic. Like, he's clearly helping people learn this sport. He's spreading it, right? And 10, 15, 20 years ago, not enough people know what Muay Thai is, right? And now it's like you can't improve your game online. And I'm like, what's funny is sometimes I'm looking online and I know these things, right? Like I lived it, we did it. And I'll go and I'll see maybe Sean do a technique and I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that. That's a good technique. I should probably teach that this week. And what's wrong with that? And I think a lot of coaches are scared to admit that they do that. I think there are a lot of coaches that are scared to admit that they actually go and then it makes them like invalid as a coach, right? Oh, I'm relying on a tutorial, but what's wrong with higher learning? What's wrong with learning from each other? Even though maybe it's your perspective, doesn't mean that you're better than them or they're better than you, but man, you lived a different life than they did. You may have learned different things. And so like, I found it interesting that so many people were passionate in both ways. I have athletes that do, I have students that do online tutorials and they come in class and I'm like, where'd you learn that shit? And they're like, oh, I saw XYZ's tutorial and they tried it, right? And maybe it wasn't perfect, but I can now go and correct them on the little things that need the nuanced touch, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I would have never thought to teach them that. I didn't even know they wanted to learn it, right? Until they saw it online. How many of my athletes will send me a video of somebody dumping somebody? I want to learn that. I couldn't tell you how many times. Boxing videos. So like, what do you say to those people that say that you cannot improve, which is like, it's kind of a silly statement, but you have to have an answer for it, right? What do you say to those people that say that you can't improve from online tutorials and you know, instructional?
Yeah, I mean, so it's a loaded question, right? But
yeah,
the first thing is that, like, I always try to clear the air whenever people are like, you can't fucking learn online. It's like, well, yeah, you can, right? Like, that's
people do it every day.
You know, you can.
Colleges around the country, right? There's just,
yeah, I know.
You can't get a degree that way. Not
exactly. And so, like, obviously, training in person with a qualified coach and qualified training partners is going to be the best solution. But like we were talking before the podcast, not a lot of people have that. I'm in upstate New York. You know, it's not a lot going on up here. I was fortunate enough to have a good coach and a good training partner, but I also worked full time. I also had like other responsibilities, and a lot of times I couldn't link up my timing with my coach or training partner. And some of my biggest fights, I would say 90% of my training was done by myself. Was done on the heavy bag, was done shadow boxing, and then the other 10% was done with my coach, my training.
That's amazing. That's amazing that you achieved so much. Literally 90% on the bag.
Well, I was lucky to have, like, I still had a good coach and good training partners where we would sharpen each other.
Yeah, but here's why I say that. There are athletes out there that want to be weighted on hand and foot.
Oh,
and if they're not, they give up.
Yeah.
They're like, well, my coach didn't, and here you are with 10% of your time with the coach, and somehow you found a way 90% of the time to prepare yourself and catapult yourself to a pro status and have a good pro career.
Yeah, it was decent. It was like,
I think it's pretty damn good. I mean, I watched it, and you fought internationally. You did well. Everybody has wins and losses, but you were there.
You know, there's always like you're your own worst critic, you know. And there's definitely some things I could have done differently, I felt like. But I also was trying to build a business at the same time as I was doing this. And I know, like we were saying, one thing about like the sacrifice it takes to be so good is that, like, I was sacrificing a lot, not just with like the business, but also training. It kind of took up a lot on both sides. And so I try to be as efficient as I could with my training. So this way I can still make sure I'm working. Because one thing, just kind of reverting back to like starting this and everything, I knew as a Muay Thai fighter, I'm not going to make a lot of fucking money. If I'm going to become a professional fighter, like, I'm not going to be making a decision
from the beginning, for sure.
Yeah. Like, I was like, all right, I need to like lay a foundation as I'm doing this. And so I have something to continue to live off with after I'm done fighting. Because otherwise, like you said, it's opening up a gym, doing personal training and that kind of stuff, which is all good. But I didn't want to be tied down to one spot. I didn't want a ceiling to how much money I could make and how much freedom I could have. And so the online teaching was something that kind of just gradually happened because people from YouTube and everything were asking me to show tutorials or do workouts and that kind of stuff. So I was like, you know what, let's just do it. And then in January 2020, I was going to create a at-home Muay Thai training program. And then COVID happened the next month. And so it kind of just naturally progressed from there, where I ended up creating like a 2-year program during COVID so people could train Muay Thai at home. And some of the results that people
would you credit COVID to your online business success?
No, like, I think it definitely spiked it during that time. But that was just like an added bonus. Like, things were going all right already. And that was like, you know how Peloton and all these
all the online
stocks and everything went up. Like, my stocks went up, right? But like, I had a good foundation. I wasn't overextending myself too much. I wasn't trying to get like super rich super fast, you know. And so I was just trying to like maintain and make sure I was giving a good product. And like, obviously, like we were saying, like, if you can train with good people, train with good people. But a lot of people that do my programs are dads, are moms, are busy people. and maybe they can make it to the gym once or twice a week to train with people, but then they want to still train. Like they don't want to waste other time, and maybe the schedule doesn't line up where they can make the classes that are actually available to them, and so they want to train at home. And so that's where my programs have been really influential to a lot of people who work out at home, who work from home, and they want to make sure that they're still learning Muay Thai and improving Muay Thai. Now, if you talk to me before COVID, everyone would be saying like, you can't fucking learn Muay Thai online. Then after COVID, everyone's doing it. You know, if Liam Harrison is teaching online, if all these great fighters are teaching online,
there's great coaches teaching online, and it's, I agree, man. It's there's of course you can learn online, right? And then that's the answer. Like, I mean, it's
a mindset thing too. Like you can't have the limited mindset of like, no, I only can learn in person. I mean, if that's your mindset, then that's true, right? But if you feel like you can actually learn from online teaching and everything, then you can do that too. Obviously, you might be able to pick up bad habits a little bit easier because you don't have that hands-on critique. But you can video yourself, you critique yourself. And one of the things that I'm always preaching is like, be your own best coach. You know, like I was training 90% of myself. I was videoing myself. I was critiquing myself. I was being a student of myself to make sure that my technique, my conditioning, everything was progressing. And that's essentially where one of my programs, my heavy bag program, came into existence. I was training for a fight on Take On at MSG. It was like my biggest fight at that moment, right? It was a title fight.
I was supposed to be on that card, and then also the co-main event or something around that
really?
card. And I think it was supposed to. I think it was against Andy Singh, and then I think he pulled out.
Oh yes, yeah, I remember Andy.
Yeah, he pulled out last minute. I was upset, man. It was it the first or the second? It was like one of the first MSG. Yeah,
it was the second one, and
that was yeah. Those are good fights.
Leading up to that fight, I was working full time, and I was barely able to make it to the gym because I was serving tables, and so like hours to serve tables is like prime gym training hours,
sure.
Right? Like the evening
same time.
So I had to make sure that I was getting my own training in. So I created my own like program to do on the heavy bag. So this way I wasn't just showing up to the heavy bag and just hitting it for the sake of hitting it, but I had like intention behind everything I was doing. And then fortunately that translated to my sparring, and that translated to my fight. And so after that, when I won that fight at MSG, like dramatically in the 5th round with a knockout, I was like, yo, there's something.
That was a wild fight.
I was like, there's something to this. And so I wanted to kind of share that with other people. And so I've been coming up with more updated versions throughout the years. And no, I'm really proud of it. And I'm happy that it's come so far.
Mean, would you say that, like, because it's an interesting perspective. Your perspective is interesting because, you know, 99% of athletes it's the opposite, right? It's 10% on their own and 90% with a coach. But they're heavily reliant on the coach telling them what's wrong. And they don't sometimes have the self-awareness to correct a habit that they have. Because it takes a lot of work, and you have to be almost vulnerable with yourself to be able to critique yourself and go, nope, that doesn't look good. That doesn't look good. And actually understand what does look good. Obviously, with the assistance of an elite coach, you know, going in and looking. But do you think, how did you, take on, critiquing yourself and correcting those things on your own? Because that sounds easy, but I don't think it's easy. I don't think it's as easy as it sounds. It's to be that introspective.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about the Fighter's Heart book. There was also the Fighter's Mind, right, by the same author, Sam Sheridan, and it really emphasized the importance of like the mindset of being a fighter. And so early on in my career, I adopted the mentality of trying to have this mindset of a growth mindset and being my own best student and being my own best coach. And I also knew that like if I got to a certain level, I'd be eventually able to move to Thailand and train in Thailand, which I did do, so I could train with the best, learn from the best, and be able to continue fighting. But early on, a lot of it had to do with journaling. I did a lot of journaling. So before like a sparring session specifically, I would be writing down what I'm trying to focus on that sparring session. I'm not trying to win the sparring session, but I'm trying to
love that you said that.
Figure things out to improve. So like maybe round one is just like my jab, my teep, and my defense. And that's all I'm fucking doing. And whether my opponent knows that or not, I don't care. Maybe they're beating me up because I only have 2 weapons, but I'm sharpening these 2 weapons. Then the next round, maybe I'm just focusing on boxing and low kicks. And the next round, maybe I'm focusing on engaging in the clinch. Maybe the next round. So I'm always making sure that there's actually a focus behind what I'm doing. And I'm not just going with the flow.
So although when you had,
good, you know?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a balance, right? Of doing it intentionally as much as you can, because that's going to help you just kind of refine and really program your mind and your body to be doing something intentionally. But sometimes you're just like not in that mindset, and just showing up and putting in the work is also really important. It's a balance that you find. So between journaling, making sure I'm videoing myself, then going back home, journaling again to like, what did I learn? Like what was something that like I got caught with that I need to like figure out how to avoid that, or what was working really well, you know? Doing that seems so like simple, you know, and it's kind of silly in a way, like, oh, you journal.
So I mean, cool, you know? This is fantastic advice. I mean, really strong advice, because a lot of people, I'll tell you, I've done every sport that's extreme, and
yeah, you do all these crazy marathons and triathlons and shit now, right? Yeah.
But I do, you know, like I have a journal for each one of them. That's what a lot of people don't know. I have a journal when racing motorcycles, right? When I'm on the track, I journal every track session, what I did wrong, which turn I needed to maybe break a little later, maybe what turn I needed to turn a little bit earlier, especially when I go down on the motorcycle. What the fuck happened there? And it's a whole page of, okay, this, that. Because you forget. You're human. Your brain only can process or recall what's, you know, readily available at you, right? And so going back, and when I did my Ironman, same thing. And it led me to a very fast Ironman race, because every single race I have ever done, I journaled it. And I told my, man, I should have ate at this time. I should have eaten this much. I was low. I had a cramp at hour 12 or at hour 10 or whatever it is. I should have, you know, I needed to up my salt. And by the end of it, I had a literal formula in my hand, this book. I have.
It's not a game. It's not a game that you're playing either. This is like
it's dangerous. You know? It's dangerous not to be cautious, right? You're not playing even and it's funny. Like nobody really, and I even Muay Thai, I had a little journal. I have it. It's I never told anybody that, which is.
It's your diary, bro. You don't want to share your secrets.
It's going to be released in the memoir someday. So everybody, 20 years from now, book your calendar.
I'm going to write it all. My tell-all, Muay Thai secrets. But
Tiago's tales. We already got the
I journal because I forget. Even like my day-to-day life. Like
I journal day to day as much as I can too, because otherwise, like I miss moments, I miss things that I'm forgetting. Like we were joking, like you get hit in the head in Muay Thai. I also smoke a lot of weed, and so like I forget a lot of shit if I'm not writing it down. And so I need to make sure I'm diligent with writing stuff down, so this way my wife doesn't yell at me for forgetting to do the laundry or whatever it is, you know. But I need to make sure that I'm connecting the mind muscle to like the physical touch of putting pen to paper. I'm not typing it out either. I'm writing it, because there's something different about like actually putting pen to paper than just like pressing a button.
I agree.
So I'm a big believer in that. And I've kind of neglected it a little bit since after my career, because after my career, I was just like, I'm just going to fuck off for a little bit, not like really put much focus or intention. I was like super disciplined while I was like training, right? And so after I decided to retire, I was a fuckhead. Like I wasn't worried about anything. But now I'm getting back into the routine of journaling, and it's such a noticeable difference in my mindset and my efficiency in my day-to-day. I'm also ADHD, you know, and so I need to make sure I have focuses. Otherwise, it's so easy to go from one thing
I have books on books on books. I have books for everything. I have 3 books right here, just holding one of my journals right here. I actually have, it's called Agendio if we get sponsored. And you can actually create, I'm looking for sponsors, boy. This thing is going to kick off one day. So it's basically a custom made planner, and I create custom planners for each thing, including Muay Thai. Like all my journals are very customized because I want things in certain places. My appointments, this is my tasks for RBT Sports. These are my tasks for Seton Gym. These are my personal tasks. These are my appointments. These are my tasks for my personal training. And I look through my day every day, and I spend like about a good hour on my journals. And I go through, and then when I train, it's this podcast is kind of turned a direction I didn't expect, but it always does. And the importance of documenting, I think, is crucial, and it helps you actually be introspective. It actually helps you, like, that's the real self-help book, is you writing it down, looking at it again.
One of the things that really helped, because like I have the MuayThaiGuy.com, right? And my blog was essentially a journal that I was able to use.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I was able to use it in a way to help other people too. So like talk about,
you can go back and teach from it.
Yeah, and talk about from losses. Some of the most popular posts are like after I lost, because I had to do like really introspective work and like look at like what went wrong and like how to overcome it. And then people are searching like, how do you deal with a loss on Google or whatever, and they find my article and they're like, oh wow, like other people have done it. The Muay Thai guy lost, you know, and if the Muay Thai guy lost, like it's okay that I lost. And so it's something that I'm also proud of too, is just being able to like know that like I'm just an average dude, you know. I wasn't like a super athlete or nothing, but it was just a matter of I put a lot of intention and a lot of discipline behind trying to accomplish something. And I was talk about being obsessed. I was obsessed for a while, making sure like I'm writing.
I think it's necessary when
any stone unturned, you know. I'm writing everything down. I'm figuring this shit out. And like I said, I feel like there's things I would have done differently now, but that's always hindsight. You know, hindsight's a bitch.
Hey, so real quick, I want to do not really switch gears, but do a follow up to the the feedback and corrections, but also we got some comments jumping in, and I always try to show some love because you have quite a few viewers. We're gonna spare some of the ones from some of your clear friends that are hazing mode today. But we got this is Saruk.
Hey, Saruk.
And what's up to Sean? You got Shotgun Damn. You got here is, I wasn't quite sure how to make this one. What do you guys think about start with 30 in Muay Thai and become a good fighter? Also,
I think she meant start at 30 years old.
30 years old. That's what I thought. So that's one to keep in the back of the mind here. We're gonna spare some of those. We got Simplified Pahari. What would you suggest to someone who can't go to a martial arts gym right now but wants to practice at home, so that in the future when one decides to join
my program, bro?
That's right.
I think that was a tee up for you, actually, right there.
There you go.
That's a plug if there's any ever.
We'll put a link up to you said they can find that at themuaythaiguy.com, correct? For like,
you can do Knock Muay Nation or MuayThaiGuy.com. You'll find my stuff.
Okay, and then so you got let's see here, Jim. Haven't seen a live for a while now, so he's stoked to see Sean on. We got Mother Russia. So quite a few. This one actually was tried for 2 years on and off. Personally, think it's me that didn't work, not the Muay Thai. I thought that was pretty interesting. A little self-introspection happening live. But so my follow-up to you, Sean, about the feedback and corrections. So in your program, you have community, like you have other people and like peer groups, and people make connections. You could easily find someone you trust who may be a little more skilled than you and share that video with them, or what would you suggest to get feedback and corrections from others?
Yeah, so it's a large community of people who are doing the same thing as everyone else in the community is, right? Trying to learn Muay Thai in their downtime, trying to improve, trying to just essentially better themselves. And so it's a really good, positive community that a lot of people are using to their full benefit by posting videos. And it's hard to post videos of yourself, especially when you're learning, you know, and put yourself out there for critique.
And then all the freaking naysayers and turn your hip and blah.
I still get that daily, you know, but
it's never gonna stop. That would never work.
I mean, people still critique John Jones and shit, you know. It's just like, all right, if he's getting critiques, like, okay, like people can critique me.
That's like everybody screaming knees, right? From
yeah,
the audience.
Right. You think, right? Like,
really?
Buddy.
When should you throw the knees? Ever?
Yeah. No, but I give a lot of feedback too. I'm in my community often. We're going to be changing into an app soon, and so people can just like upload the video, get feedback from me. I'm trying to post there often, and so yeah, it's a cool. It's like an online gym more or less where people go to hang out and share their favorite meals, share a little bit of their training, share behind the scenes and everything, and it's cool, you know, when you want to get away from the mess of social media, which can be a little crazy and chaotic. I just dip into my app where people are a little bit more calm, than the regular social media crowd. And so, yeah, it's a pleasure to be a part of it.
Okay, so one more follow-up about, because I know a lot of people, and this was my concern when I was hearing about the poll we were doing and everything, was like sparring and sparring alternative. So like if you're by yourself and you're training remotely, you know, and how would you recommend, you know, if you don't have sparring partners available, like what drills, tools can mimic sparring practice at home?
Yeah, that's a common question. And the main thing is like you can't really substitute anything for sparring, right? There's just something different than someone punching you and being a moving target. And so you can train as much as you can at home. You can make sure you're adding defense and footwork to it and just visualizing. But ultimately, nothing's going to come close to actually sparring. So if you're not by a gym locally, you can always plan a day where you go to a gym, whether it's an hour, 2 hours away, where you spend the day there, get some good training in, come back, reassess, train again for another 2-3 weeks, and then go back to that gym. Because I know that sometimes it's hard to find a gym to train at, but typically most people within an hour or 2 hours tops, you can find a gym where they have a good sparring day. Go spar, test yourself, give them a heads up, like, hey, like I haven't sparred much. I want to like work on things. Is it okay if I come to the sparring day and like work on things? Some people will say yes, some people will say no because they don't want like the 100-0 Street Fighter to come in and start like whoop people's asses, you know?
Right.
But essentially, the best way to do it is go to a gym. You know, I mean, like we were saying, obviously the best training you can do is in person, but you can really sharpen your tools and improve. So when you do train in person, you have a little bit more edge to you. And so that would be my piece of advice.
That's amazing advice. I saw you did a post, and this is what kind of prompted me to contact you, because I remember how controversial it was.
Is it like you can actually get good at Muay Thai at home or something like that?
Yeah, it was funny, and I saw the comments.
People came at me, bro.
It was
jump right to the comments, folks.
angry.
That's what we do now.
There's no fucking way. Like, oh shit.
If you want to become a professional champion, like, yeah, like you got to train with good people. If you want to just get good and like have fun and get in shape, you can train at home, man. It's like not the end
train
of the
at
world.
home. I have a lot of students that train at home. I mean, they drive to the gym. They probably drive about an hour to an hour and a half to get to my gym. And some days they just like, man, I just don't have it. They have their own bag. I actually give them some stuff to do. Like, look, these are the things I would like to see you do. If you're not going to come in here, run, you know, this much, do this much. This is XYZ on the, you know, that's, you know, that's what I usually tell them to do. And then they'll do it. Right. And then I know at least something got done rather than them just sitting at home, you know, and there's a comment in here saying like, it's better than staying on your couch, which I thought was pretty funny. I guess, yeah. This is essentially the point, right? Like, yeah, the high, yeah, obviously being one-on-one with somebody is better than not, right? It's better because you're going to get instant feedback. You're not going to be allowed to practice bad habits, but and it's going to be a lot easier to get them fixed. Whereas when you're on the bag or something, you're going to have to be a little more introspective. You're going to have to, you know, actually videotape yourself, look at it. Why it takes a little more work, but it's
Which I think makes you better though. That makes you better because you have to actually do that extra work if you want to actually improve.
Make a habit of doing
without the intention, without the critique of yourself, then yeah, you could be picking up bad habits. Yeah, you might be getting in good shape, but are you really getting better? Who knows? It's until you actually give yourself that type of feedback and actually check yourself. When you
There's some people at my gym that will come in and I can tell they're just going through the motions. They're not intentional in their training. I'm explaining a technique. They're looking off to, you know, they're looking off to next week. And, you know, and then I see them spar and I'm like, guys, practice what you learn in sparring. That's all the sparring is about. To this day, I preach it. I'm like, when I'm sparring, everybody knows what I'm going for that day. Because if I'm going for low kicks, people are crawling out of the gym. If I'm going for body shots, I have everybody's liver in my hand, right? Like it's always, that's something that's like been ingrained in my head. Like sparring isn't fighting. Sparring is like sharpening the best sparring, I believe, is sharpening a specific tool.
Yeah, you need your hard rounds and stuff on occasion, but more like 90%.
Sometimes it's good to, you know, it's good to, you know, give it a good one, you know, and that's fun, just for funsies. But let's be honest, like when the best growth is done when you're intentionally sparring with a very specific goal in mind. And that's where I see the largest. And so like someone like yourself that doesn't get a lot of sparring, right? When you come in, it's got to be super efficient. You got to squeeze the last bit of value out of that sparring. And how do you do that? Exactly what you just described. First round, I exercise this. Second round, I exercise that. First round, I do these things and see what I need to, you know, get back, you know, see what I need to do to improve all those things. And then we put it all together, but it was very intentional, everything that you did. And when you're in the ring, it bleeds over because everything you do in that ring has to be intentional. You do not want to waste effort on something stupid.
And you can't be thinking. You can't be thinking at that point.
You can't. No, it's all like, you know how to do these things already.
Yeah, and the way you teach too, Tiago, like I would say, like, you know, like I like low kick sparring, like where you start, you know, just with low kick, because obviously checking kicks, a bigger guy would just stand there and take it, you know, like, why lift the leg, right? Just take it. So low kick, I like low kick
from experience.
And that'd answer one question that we had in here. Cool Hand Loca says, does Tiago and Brandon also do Muay Thai? The answer is yes and yes. And it's been a while since I've been in the gym, but I do Muay Thai and I miss it. But we'll get back there soon. We're back in shape. So, but the progressive level of sparring, so like you'll start off with some of the techniques from the class and then start adding in to where everybody's comfort level is, and then to full sparring, right?
Sure.
I always really like that.
But I like Sean's, you know, idea of like, if you're gonna do something online and you want to get good at it, you have to be very very self-aware. And you have to be going in with like, you can do his whole workout and not learn a damn thing if you don't want to. If you don't want to. And you can do his whole workout and learn a lot. Even at my level, it just depends on how much you're willing to look within. Right? I would say. If Sean's just teaching a jab and a hook and a low kick, sure, I've been doing this for 30 years. I could do jab and hook and low kick, but can I do it better? Can I sharpen a little bit more? Been doing it for 30 years, but you know what? It can always be better. And in my head, there's no such thing as perfection, and it can always be better. So
that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty, is that there's no thing is perfection, and you're always striving to be perfect, knowing that like you're never gonna fucking.
No such thing. It doesn't exist.
Yeah. No,
there's no such improvement.
That's the mindset you need as a martial artist and as a student in general. There's knowing that, like, and also the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know shit. You know, it's just like
that Pandora's box.
Yeah, I want to add something too for your program too, because you know we'll see there's a lot of these gyms. Obviously, fitness is a big market. You know, a lot of people jump into that market. You have your, you know, I don't want to name any names, but they're like,
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, they're like the pop up, you know, with the bags with the base on them. And
we all know them. We all know them.
Where I would say that if you're at one of those places, I mean, good for you for like taking an action, but you could also maybe, and would you agree, Sean, that they could supplement or like actually get better technique than if their coaches are not actually working, because, you know, their jabs and their, you know, all their techniques are a little off at some of those places that we're talking about. Maybe they could do an online course, you know, with you getting the techniques down and then practice that if that's what's close to them, you know, or inexpensive for them to go to. Would you say that's a good option?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I created, it's called the Fighter's Body. That's like my online training academy, no equipment at all. It was kind of like the enemy was like cardio kickboxing, if you will, because like you learn so much shit technique. You type in cardio kickboxing on YouTube and you see these guys throw knees and kicks, and you're like,
literally the worst,
you know. And I'm like, there's got to be something better out there. And so I was looking for like real stuff that was out there, and nothing was really there. I was like, you know what? I need to teach it. So it's like not cardio kickboxing, but you're actually learning Muay Thai at home. You're actually training like a fighter would be at home. And so everything that I've been teaching in my programs is a compilation of everything I've learned throughout my career. And it's ways that you can focus on the techniques, but also get in good shape, do some different types of drills, do some fight IQ stuff too. So not only are you just learning the technique, you're learning how to use the technique, learning how to visualize. So when you do get to sparring or you do eventually go into the ring, you kind of have a little bit more experience in that sense. And so, yeah, you can do with cardio kickboxing. You can go to the local cardio kickboxing gyms and get some work in and everything. But if you actually want to be improving your technique and improving your fight IQ, it definitely helps to have like a well-rounded program where you're actually improving in the aspects that are going to make you better at Muay Thai. Not just I didn't want a fitness program. I want a Muay Thai program. You know, and so that's
check this comment out too to back up what you're saying. This sounds like somebody that's been working with your program, Sharfik. Been working with your program.
Thanks so much, man. That's so nice.
Yep. Just joined a gym 2 weeks ago, and his program's given him a badass solid base.
That's pretty dope.
He went in feeling confident
right there. Yeah. That's proof right in the pudding. Oh, what gym did you? If Sharfik?
Yeah, Sharfik.
What gym did you? What gym did you join? I'm very curious to know, because I would love to hear that, because that's like right there. That's like proof in the pudding, right?
Well, one thing is that a lot of people are intimidated at first to go to a Muay Thai gym. It's a scary place, you know, a bunch of just like people beating.
Even I was. I was.
Yeah, me too. I was like, holy shit. And so like by learning a little bit before you go in, it can give you just a little boost of confidence that you need to actually go in the door and do it. If you have no idea what the hell to expect, and it can be that resistance that kind of keeps you from actually showing up. And so learning online, shadowboxing online, you could look like a fucking idiot and no one's going to judge you for it, you know?
Right.
And so this way you can kind of get the dust off, you know, and then you can go to a gym.
Yeah, so show up. Don't go when there's a class happening. That will actually make you more nervous. Go beforehand. Get some introduction before you watch how good everybody is before you walk in. So that looks like Sharfik replied, and shout out to Fight Flow Academy in Raleigh,
North Carolina,
for taking him in. That's good.
Yeah. So cool. I wanted to. So I saw it. I saw that post of yours, and I was just like, we got to put this to bed. I wanted to. It's one thing that, you know, you do it on your platform, but I wanted to give you another platform that I could just challenge these ideas, and you can put this to bed. It's kind of silly thought that you can't improve with technique online. And I own a gym, and it's probably maybe not in my best interest to say, but I really don't give a shit, because I think at the end of the day, if people improve, that's the end goal at the end of the day. If people
are shared knowledge too, it's shared
right.
Knowledge, you know?
And that kind of brings me to like, you know, something that we're doing at the US Open. We're doing a thing that's also shared knowledge, right? And I'm doing like a different modules. We call it the combine. That's literally
the combine.
the
that's
combine.
The combine.
So what we're doing is, and we'd love to have you part of it one day, is for you to or somebody is going to go up, and we have different modules. One module is like wrapping hands. And what we're going to do is have, because at the tournament, we have a plethora of coaching staff, knowledge in that room, more than any one person can give. Right? Like you have your experiences, I have my experiences. Combined, that's a lot of experiences. Now imagine if there's 20 coaches in the room and we have all those 20 coaches share. And then there's 70 people in that room that are going to learn from those coaches. And it's free to all the athletes and coaches that compete at the tournament. So now we have this like wealth of knowledge that people are going to learn from. Another one is effective weight cutting. That's actually our biggest one.
And the biggest thing for us was to not have it like all the other seminars where you're falling asleep. There's one guy, you know, you've been to all the Muay Thai seminars. There's this guy coming out from Thailand, and there's this and there's that. That's all nice.
We would love that. Have you come in maybe in March. And if you would, I would love to have you come and do a module on whatever you feel is unique to your experience. Maybe helping somebody, you know, become an influencer in fight sport.
Yeah, all the athletes need that knowledge too. Like
one thing I've been wanting to do, and I have a passion for, is being able to teach people more business minded how to like translate their social media to actually make some money.
Monetizing. Yeah.
And it's been something I've dabbled with in the past. I've never really nailed down like what.
Maybe this is the kick in the butt for you to come out and like.
Need that. So let me just say, for the whole public, you know, I'm even in marketing, man, and it's time, right? Like I'm supposed to make content. I know what I'm supposed to do every day. Can't do it. Can't get it done. And it's just what you're.
Well, a lot of it is stuff that people like don't know about. It's like the back end stuff. Because when people think of like you talk about like sponsors and stuff, I don't have any fucking sponsors, man. I don't make any money off advertising. I don't make any money off sponsors. I've tried to in the past, and they all just fucking lowball me. So I'm just like sick of it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go do my own thing. And a lot of the stuff that I do is involved with. I have complete autonomy in like the money that I'm bringing in. It's not relying on the sponsor paying me, how many pieces of content I make. It's all relying on systems and automations I have. And I think that's one of the main things I want to teach people is like, you talk about if you create content, that's great. You're creating content. What is that leading to? How are you going to make a sale?
What's the end goal? What's your why? That's what Brandon preaches.
Yeah.
Right.
Find your why. Yeah.
It's like influencer marketing is like you just make content, you get a lot of views. So what? You got 1 million views. Did you make any fucking money from it? Probably not, right? And like, how do you actually make money from it? That's
and like also, are you passionate about it? That's something I struggle with. What do you want to be known for? Because like you can only really be known for like one thing, maybe two things, you know. And so you got to really do some soul searching to pick what that is.
Yeah, you got to kind of niche down a little bit, at least in the beginning, and then you can start to broaden it a little bit more. But it's also like a very saturated market with post-COVID. So many people are trying to figure it out. But the beauty of it is that so many people are trying to figure it out because there's so many different ways that you can actually do it now. People are talking about like, you can't learn Muay Thai online. People before like, oh, you can't make money online. That's all a scam. That's all something. All right, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing then, you know? Like,
I remember, bro, 2016.
Everybody, man.
I've owned a remote marketing agency for a long time where my staff's been remote way before that was a cool term, you know. And so like I was trying to get people to do Zooms in like 2016, 2017, and they'd be like, no, that's not secure. I don't know. I feel weird about video, you know. And then here we are, right, where
2020,
you know, 85-year-old men are like, let's Zoom, you know.
They don't even want to get out of bed to do the Zoom from their bedroom.
Yeah.
Well, so this has been, I think, a really good. I think I've learned a lot. I've learned quite a bit about, you know, every aspect, a very different avenue to take outside of pro fighting in the Muay Thai world. There's a lot of avenues where you can monetize and make a living. This is a very different one. And you've done really well. Sean, we would love to have you back anytime to discuss any topic you like, you're passionate about, what's grind your gears. Like that's why I look online for these kind of things. I was like, ooh, I gotta have Sean for this. I want him to talk about this because it pissed off quite a bit of people, that post.
It's so funny how people actually have such a passionate opinion about it.
And then when I put when I put it up, that was the same. It was the same, like the reaction. Like, there's no fucking way. I'm like, whoa, buddy, settle down. Like, I had to take some comments off. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, it's just a question, man. There's no, there's chill. And so, and he's not trying to take over Muay Thai. I think people think like you're like trying to like take it over and it's changing. It's not changing. People are gonna learn what they're gonna learn. Mm-hmm. And so, I learned a lot. I actually learned quite a bit, and I'm very happy that you shared your time with us and away from your family and stuff. And we are I'm looking forward, hopefully, to having you in March if you're interested in teaching a module like that. I think a lot of athletes can benefit from learning how to, gain followers. I even promoter. If a promoter, I want the athletes on my show to gain followers and promote our shit.
Yeah,
right.
That's the name of the game, man.
I mean, I'll be there for that module. If you're teaching it, I'm sitting in the student's chair. I'm like, man, you tell me how to do it because I'm in.
And
right.
Also, if you want good fights, you have to promote yourself too. And
you have to.
I know so many fighters who don't get good matchups
and they're good fighters.
Yeah, because they're social
media. But nobody
fighters.
knows who they are.
Yeah. And so it's kind of sad because like they're great fighters, but that's just kind of the name of the game nowadays.
But people don't remember that this is show business.
Mm-hmm. This is entertainment, man.
Sport is show business. If they don't want to watch you, you're a D-list celebrity.
Yeah, exactly.
If they do want to watch you.
I realized that early on, and because like let's be real, like I'm not like a world champion fighter. I'm not like the best fighter at all, but I was above average, and I was a good marketer, and that's the name of the game in my sense. Like, yeah, I want to be a great fighter, and I was as great as I could be, but like I want to make sure when I leave the sport competitively, like I'm not just so many tuk-tuk drivers and everything. They used to be like legendary fighters, but then there's like nothing afterwards, right? I knew that story, and I was like, fuck that, I don't want that to happen to me. And so I think that can be something that I could be passionate about teaching, because I know a lot of people who get in the sport are really passionate about it, but then they have no money in the bank. They have no insurance. They have no anything to keep their lives afloat. And I know Muay Thai is not a sport you get into to get rich. That's for sure. But
speaking of which, it's a good shameless time for the plug here. Sean's got some Black Friday deals going on right now because it's about turkey time. So
that's right.
Check out
programs, his gear, all that good stuff, man. And it's a good way to start.
Muay-Thai-Guy.com.
You could also type Muay Thai Guy without the dashes. I actually got that domain now. I had to buy it from this guy who was just like,
oh, good. That's the one that comes up in search. You're at the number one for the Muay Thai Guy. And then also your Instagram there. If you guys want to follow those who don't know, Sean's got incredible content that's published everywhere. So yeah, man, we love seeing you, brother.
Appreciate it. And just to answer the what I will come back with a podcast. I'm not sure if I'm ever coming back with a podcast. I love doing the podcast, and I love talking Muay Thai. But at that time when I was doing it, a lot of it just ended up being like the same kind of conversation over and over again. And so I took a step back. I'd rather be a guest on podcasts nowadays than I'd be actually doing a podcast.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back as a guest. And we get it. We could chop the shit about whatever you want to talk about. Somebody's grinding your gears. That's my favorite. That's how I usually do podcasts. If I'm scrolling, I'm like, ooh, he mad about that one.
Well, some type of controversial topic that gets people talking,
Yeah, this was one of them. This was surprisingly one of them. I was actually very surprised. I really genuinely was like, can't be that big a deal. Like, he's doing his thing. People learning from it. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently people care. And you know, it's a good conversation to have. So I think that's where the world is going to, you know, people are learning online. And
yeah, we're also trying to give this for coaches, right? The people who are really in this game, you know, this is for them. And obviously the people who are up and coming, who are athletes, who are in it, they're going to find a lot of value from some of these conversations.
Like coaches too, like steal my drills, steal my techniques, steal my shit. And
that's something I forgot to mention. And I wanted to mention that.
You know, because like I know so many people, I when I do seminars and everything, and like the coaches come up to me sometimes, they're like, man, like, I'm not gonna lie, I use like all your workouts and your classes. I'm like, good, man. Like, I use that from my teachers that I learned from. And so it's all like shared knowledge.
It's all real. It's all real shit, right? Like, it's not like some of this crap and all right, girls, let's go. And you know, like it stems from a real place, and then it worked for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, why not have a coach look and go, I know this technique, but maybe Sean teaches it in a way that's a little more interesting than I am.
And that's one thing too. Like, I'm always, whenever I'm teaching, especially in person, I'm like, you could be learning this from me and you'd be like, you know what, this shit sucks, you know, but you might pick a piece of it that you can implement into your style. And as long as you're learning like one thing, that's the beauty of like martial arts. Is like you're picking and choosing how to create your own fighting style based off everyone's knowledge that you're gaining with your coaches, with your training partners and everything. I didn't just like pick my style, right? I didn't just follow one person. I was learning from a bunch of people and figuring out what kind of worked best for me. And then I was testing it out. I was like, oh, that shit worked, right? I'm going to keep doing that. Or like, no, that didn't work. Like, no, I'll throw that away. I'm not throwing spinning kicks.
Battle tested. Battle tested.
Yeah,
and you know, I again, that was the one thing I had it on my notes to discuss, and I didn't pop up. But yeah, coaches can benefit even if they know the material. Just maybe the way you put it together might be a better way. In my gym, I have right now, I think I have like 8 or 9 coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And they all, you know, as a coach, I'm going, hey, these are the things I want you to teach. But I don't really tell them how to teach it. Because if we all taught it the same, what's the value in that? Now, I might say
different
something,
analogies, you know, different ways to explain it. And it might just ring with someone else, you know.
And it might not connect when I say it. But then, you know, maybe Arsham says it and they go, oh, shoot. That made sense. I didn't make sense before, but the way he said it, it clicked in my brain. And, you know, why not use a video tutorial to use, you know, to just get ideas on how to teach a technique you already know how to teach.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it's a different perspective on maybe how to communicate, because teaching is just really communication.
Mm-hmm.
And like different ways, and getting better at communicating is always a benefit.
Well, it's connecting too. You got the three M's or the 3 P's we teach in business. Is it can only be 3 objections why a sale's not made, and it's either the money, the merchandise, or me, or the price, the product, or the person.
Right.
So like that's one of those. That's a third of it. So if they're not taking what you're putting down, chances are you need to let someone else, you know, jump in and, hey, if you're not really getting anything from me on this, maybe you need to move over to someone else. And that takes a high level of integrity to be able to call that out. And it's a very advanced lesson.
A lot of coaches out there are really like, they can't face the fact that maybe how they do it is not the best way for this particular person.
Or their personality. They could clash the personality. They could have an ego that people don't like, or whatever it is. It's, you know, it
happens. I see it where it's like, no, my way is the best. And I don't care what you say.
Or they don't respect you for whatever reason that is of their own. You know, maybe you remind them of their dad, or you know.
I don't like his beard. He reminds me of my dad.
That's right.
Sean, thank you. Any final words, Sean?
I just appreciate you guys having me on here. It's been a minute since I've been on a podcast, so it's nice to kind of come from the shadows and like show my face again. So I appreciate that very much. You guys have done so much for the sport with the USMTO, with Seton Gym and everything. So just keep doing what you do. hopefully I'll be able to make it out there in Arizona. That sounds like a good place to escape the winter in March, So
come on through. We love the snowbirds, especially the Nakamoi snowbirds. Come on down.
It's all business write-offs, and so I can make even
more.
Yeah,
come on through. We'd love to have you as a guest, and if you want to do those modules, I'm pretty confident there would be a huge following that would come out to learn about how you've built your market, and how to monetize that. I am all ears. I would sit and listen to what you have to teach for sure.
Well, that's good to know. I appreciate that, because sometimes I don't know if people care enough to want to learn this kind of stuff. And
if there's only one person, it'll be me.
All right, fair enough, and that's worth it to me, man.
Which I highly doubt. I think it'll probably be one of our biggest modules, and our modules are only 90 minutes. So it would be like a very quick synopsis and, different things. And we'll talk about it if you're interested. We do have like a model that we do, and it's apparently doing really well. 70, 80 people each module, so a lot of people.
Yeah,
so
I'm open to it. Definitely open to it. But yeah,
cool.
Again, you guys are awesome for doing what you're doing, and it's an honor to be on.
Thank you, Sean. Have a great day, man. Thank you for coming out, and hopefully we'll hear from you soon.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
Take care.
All right, guys.
That was good.
Yeah, man.
That was interesting. I learned quite a bit. I think